Councilwoman Suzette Dato, our Chief Levine, Chief, there you are. We have our Business Administrator, Glenn Skarzinski, and our Jack of all trades, who does a lot of things for the city, Municipal Alliance, and so on, Kathy Kadelka. A short while ago, the governor was here in South Amboy to officially open construction of the new train bridge, between South Amboy and Perth Amboy, thus creating many jobs for New Jersey workers and upgrading the transit systems. Now he is here to sign a bill crafted by Speaker Coughlin to expand school meal programs in New Jersey. The governor and the state legislature continues to show that they are working for all the citizens of New Jersey. And with these two examples in particular, the workers, commuters, and most importantly, our children. We are here to witness the signing of these extremely important bills, and I thank Governor Murphy for choosing South Amboy for this historic moment. As a former school teacher, I know the importance of having well-nourished students in class that have the energy to learn. Too often students fall behind because they are just too tired to participate. So on behalf of the citizens of South Amboy and our school district, I want to thank Governor Murphy, Speaker Coughlin, and the combined state legislature for passing these bills and giving our students a better chance for a better education, for our students are our future. Ladies and gentlemen, Governor of this great state of New Jersey, Phil Murphy.
Thanks, man. Really well done. Thank you. Thank you, Fred. What a treat it is to be here. I'll get to the topic of the day, as Fred so eloquently has already previewed. But our flags are at half-staff, and they're at half-staff actually this weekend and into next week for two reasons. Number one, the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, and secondly, beginning tonight at sundown until Monday morning for the victims of 9/11. On the former, what an extraordinary leader. 7 decades, 15 prime ministers, by the way. The first one was Winston Churchill, and 14 American presidents. And her 15th prime minister, she blessed and sanctioned only 2 days before she died. An extraordinary ally of our country. My mother-in-law was born and grew up in the Chelsea section of London, so I had a little bit of, my wife lived there for many years, a little bit of a soft spot for the United Kingdom, and God rest her soul. On the latter, I will be in New York City with Governor Hochul and Mayor Adams and many others on Sunday morning to commemorate the lives lost, and the names will be read as they are every year, and it's one of the most solemn occasions you can imagine, and I know there will be similar memorials throughout the state as we lost 700 of our fellow citizens that day. So it's a sad day, but acknowledgement of an extraordinary woman, and a somber day to remember the lives lost and those impacted on that day 21 years ago this Sunday. With that, Fred, thank you for your, where'd Fred go? For your gracious introduction and your tremendous welcome. I want to thank you and your team, the council president, members of council, the chief, the BA, the other members of the team here in South Amboy. I want to thank the superintendent, Dr. Frederick Williams. Is the principal, Sean Dunphy, here? I do what the principal tells me to do, so I want to make sure he knows I'm behaving. Donna Chiara, who's the president of AFT, American Federation of Teachers in New Jersey, is with us. Donna, great to be with you. And I want to thank the entire South Amboy Elementary School community for allowing us to come into your home today and to read Craig Coughlin's report cards from those years ago. It must be, we don't have to read them, Craig, we know what's in them. It must be noted that South Amboy's teams compete as the Governors. So this just in, I have a new favorite school team, the Govs. Go Govs. And in the spirit of being at a school, for show and tell, I brought with me my Congressman, the leader, Frank Pallone, Assembly Speaker in South Amboy's own, Craig Coughlin, more on him in a minute, Senate Majority Leader, Senator Teresa Ruiz, and Amboy's native, Assemblywoman Yvonne Lopez, Yvonne, the Acting Commissioner of Education, Dr. Angelica Allen McMillan, and to her right, the Assistant Secretary of Agriculture, Joe Atchison. Joe, great to see you. And I also brought a couple of bills and a box of pens with which to sign them. May I also say that there are many sponsors of these two important bills. Many of them are here. Several of them are not here. And I want to give a shout out in absentia. And I think I've got this right. On the Senate side, depending on the bill, Senator Joe Vitale and Senator Vin Gopal. And on the Assembly side, on the Assembly side, Assemblywoman Pam Lampett, Assemblywoman Mila Jacey, Assemblyman Joe Danielson, Assemblyman Tom Giblin, who I know wanted to be here, and Assemblywoman Sadef Jaffer. And if all of that weren't enough, we have the boss of the county commissioners, Ron Rios, and and to please give Mickey my best, and to his left, Commissioner Charlie Kenny. So that is we got a lineup of a cavalcade of stars and leaders today. These bills that we'll sign in a couple of minutes will greatly expand access to free and nutritious school breakfasts and lunches for literally thousands of New Jersey school children, and at the same time ensure that parents and guardians are more fully aware of the school-based meal and nutrition programs available to them. They will help us refocus our fight against food insecurity. They will ensure that our kids are more fully prepared to excel in their studies so they can excel in their lives. And through it all, they will make life in New Jersey a little bit more affordable for countless working and middle-class families. Expanding the right to a free school lunch isn't just the right thing to do educationally, it is the right thing morally. Of the many lessons we have learned over the course of the COVID pandemic, it is that access to healthy meals can become a fragile thing, particularly, and we live this overnight. For recipients of free school breakfasts and lunches, these meals can ensure that a growing body is properly nourished, providing the majority of the calories and nutrients that a young person needs to learn, to play, to grow. And for the families of these children, it means they can breathe more easily, knowing that their child is getting these healthy meals. For many working class and middle class parents, and definitely for those reaching up to get into the middle class, they won't have to settle for sending their kids to school with overly processed, nutrient-light, sugar-heavy breakfasts or lunches if they're able to afford to send their kids off with either at all, frankly. Moreover, school lunches are a world apart from what many of us of a certain age may remember them to be. Thanks to federal guidelines, and Frank, you were a part of this, bless you, that have been in place since 2012, school breakfasts aren't just more nutritious, but they're also more appealing to young taste buds. And the data backs this up. According to research compiled by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and I was with its CEO, Rich Besser, the other night, and he and his team are extraordinary, and they're based right here, as we all know, in New Jersey, by the way. Children are choosing fruits, vegetables, and other healthy foods now more than ever before, and certainly since before the federal guidelines took effect. And the schools boasting the healthiest offerings for their students also, not surprisingly, boast the highest student participation rates. Score one for the next generation of foodies, right? Yeah, let's go. Council President is leading us. But here's the number that brings us here. The same foundation, the Robert Wood Johnson, reported that more than 3/4 of all school meals were being provided to students who met the requirements for free or reduced price breakfasts and lunches. We know the demand is there. So today we are taking a big step in meeting it. And as it happens, not too long from now, it is almost lunchtime here at South Amboy Elementary. So I want to go ahead and sign these laws so that more students around here and around the state and their families can have a little more of a break when they grab their trays in the cafeteria. I am again incredibly honored to sign these measures into law. They may seem small to some, but they are indeed a big deal. And their importance will only grow as the kids who will benefit from greater access to a full, nutritious lunch or breakfast will grow big and strong as well. I'm not only going to introduce the speaker, but I have to say unequivocally, we would not be here signing these bills without Craig Coughlin's passion and leadership. This means a lot to all of us, but it means more than any of us to Craig. Please help me welcome the Speaker of the General Assembly, Middlesex County's own Craig Coughlin.
Thank you for that. Well, I'm trying to extend it.
Climate change?
Climate change. Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Governor, for those kind words and that really incredibly kind introduction. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. And, Governor, I really can't thank you enough for coming back here to South Amboy, to the school that this is. For folks who don't know, this is the elementary school now. The building you see, well, you can't see it because your backs are to it, but immediately to my left was the high school when I went here. The elementary school was on the other side, and I was. It's beautiful, and I'm glad we're outside. But I was kind of hoping we were in the gym because I was going to show off. When I was in high school, we had a work-study program. I think it was called the CETA program, and I was one of the students who benefited from that. So me and a few others were part of a team that painted the gym. Now, can you imagine? I suspect there was probably about 700 OSHA violations by today's standards, including the fact that we didn't have any kind of protective gear and stuff. We just climbed up a scaffolding and painted the gym. And I was going to show off my work to the governor, but it's probably better that we're outside anywhere. If you want to go inside, I know a guy. I want to thank everybody for coming out. I want to thank all my friends. I want to thank the members of the council, Council President Mickey Gross, Councilwoman Suzette Dato, Board of Ed members Pat Walsh and Anthony Conrad, who's going to be on the council, I trust, in soon. Give them a big round of applause. So many of my friends from the SAEA, thank you for that. Thanks for coming out and for all of you done for this school and for this town. I'm truly proud to be here today because this is an important bill, and because I'm proud to be from South Amboy. It's a really good place to be from. It's a small town where people know each other and care about each other and help each other. And that's what this bill does today. It helps more than 26,000 students in the state of New Jersey, and it helps their parents and their family, and it helps them to be able to succeed. You know, this is a really important time for this bill. Children are back in school. Federal waivers are gone. And inflation is taking a bite out of everybody's pocketbook, parents and students, making life harder for students. And so let me first shamelessly urge the folks in Congress. I know he's a huge supporter of the waivers that were put in place during the pandemic, but Congressman Pallone, go back and tell those guys, get their act together and reinstitute the free breakfast and lunch for the kids in New Jersey and the kids throughout the country, because we all recognize how important having a healthy in breakfast and lunch is to everybody, and how it impacts their ability to succeed. And think about the impact it has on their parents. You know, imagine going to school and being hungry and knowing that you're not going to have any lunch, and then have to wonder about what's going to happen after that. You don't get to be your best self. You don't get to maximize your talents. You don't get to concentrate on being a success in school if you don't do that. And so while the waivers were important, we didn't wait in New Jersey, thanks to people like Governor Murphy, and thanks to Senator Ruiz and members of my delegation, including my dear friend Yvonne Lopez, who's here with me today. You know, during the pandemic, we went to work, and we passed a bill that eliminated the cost-sharing option. That helped over 500,000 kids in the state of New Jersey. And today we take let's give that a big round of applause. And so today we take the next step. It's called the Working Class Families Anti-Hunger Act. And I was proud to be part of that. But with the governor today, we're breaking that. We're putting ourselves on a path to make sure that all the students in the state of New Jersey have the opportunity for a free or reduced lunch. What the bill does specifically, in short measure, is it increases the people who are eligible by raising the percentage of the federal poverty rate, taken from 185 to 200. And the reason we did that was to capture more working middle-class folks. You know, there are lots of students who go to school. There's a stigma to receiving free breakfast and lunch too often, right? And it's embarrassing to the students. They often don't take it as a result of that. But to the extent we get more people included, even in so-called affluent communities where students will be inclined to take it rather than be afraid of being, challenged by other students who don't have to take it. And so we've taken a big and an important step today. What that means in real practical terms to a family of 4 here in South Amboy who has 2 students in school is $1,260 a year. The price of lunch and breakfast here is $3.50. If you multiply that by 2 times 180, I learned this at South Amboy Public Elementary School, it's $1,260. And that's a real meaningful, has a real meaningful impact on people who are struggling because of inflation, because they don't have the wherewithal to send their kids every day with a healthy lunch. The ALICE report, some of you know that, it's an annual report produced by the United Way talking about what the minimum standards ought to be. It means you'll save about 22% on your food budget. Think about that. 22% is a big, big number. And it'll help make, one of the things we have been talking about is making New Jersey more affordable. And this is a way to do that for parents. Saving 22% on your food budget is a big deal, and it helps. And it gives parents the opportunity to not have to worry so much, too. Because imagine that, while it's a challenge for students to concentrate, imagine the burden that parents feel. Imagine being a parent every day and waking up and saying, I've got to figure out how to feed my kids today. And it wasn't because you didn't get to the grocery store yesterday, it's because there wasn't anything to get. You don't have any money to do it. This helps. And so this is one of those things that really will matter in people's lives. It's a bill that is important. It's a bill that will help change students' lives, and one of the bills that we have to make on the first step in the process to making sure that all students have free and reduced lunch. The other thing we have to do is make sure that people know about it, because in addition to whatever stigma there might be, there are people who aren't aware of these programs. And so the other bill that the governor is going to sign today, and that's the one that's sponsored by Assemblyman Danielson and Giblin and Assemblywoman Jacey and my dear friend from Essex County, Senator Ruiz, is to require food providers, service providers to notify people and run a campaign so people know that it's really that what's available to them and how they go about accessing it. I've said this before, we are a great state, but if we want to be a great state, we have to do some things at a minimum. One of them is to make sure that our people are fed. It's closer to a moral obligation than a governmental obligation. And today we take a big step in that. Couldn't have done this, though, without help. The governor has been an extraordinary partner in the fight against food insecurity, as has my dear friend Teresa Ruiz, senator from Essex. Give her a big round of applause, if you will. This is an issue that strikes at the heart of people, because I think we all understand how important it is and how we'll be able to change it. The fight goes on. There's so many areas in which we can make some changes, and we're a leader. I'm so proud of what we have done here in New Jersey. We have the first ever food insecurity advocate in the state of New Jersey, thanks to the governor's agreement to put them in the Department of Agriculture. We lead the nation in so many things, and we can make a difference in so many lives. And it's all stuff, I'm proud to say, that I learned right here in South Amboy. So thanks, everybody, for coming out. Thank you for being part of this success. Governor, thank you again. I can't thank you enough for being here. Senator Ruiz, thank you again for being here. And, of course, my dear friend Frank Pallone, who moved the press conference today so he could be with us this morning. I can't ask for more than that. Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. Who said you can't come home, right?
Hey, one serious point. Craig, that was awesome. And you mentioned ALICE, and that's a strata where a ton of people live in our state. And it stands for asset limited, income constrained, but employed. So these are folks, families with jobs, but they just can't make ends meet. And this is going to be a game changer for those families. Now, a lighter note. I wasn't going to tell this story about the gym being painted, but Craig raised it, and I will. Little known fact, literally the day before South Amboy, Ron, put the RFP out, Bayonne picked off South Amboy's favorite artist to paint the gym, and that was Picasso. He had a gig in Bayonne. People don't know that, but then they fell to Craig. No, that can't be true. We have mentioned her name several times. She's a huge deal in this state, a huge advocate for this and for so many other areas that change people's lives. Please help me welcome one of the sponsors, the Senate Majority Leader, Senator Teresa Ruiz.
So thank you to Middlesex County for welcoming me here today, to the mayor, to the governor, to members of the commissioner board. I heard the superintendent. Donna, we're right in your backyard. To my colleague and friend, who we are so closely aligned in these endeavors, because when you think about a person in the assembly who fundamentally understands the purpose of what our roles are of public servants, which is to really create wraparound services in spaces where there are invoices, I can point to Craig Coughlin indefinitely and say, he es presente, he will stand with you, and he will protect communities day in and day out, understanding that what his role is in leadership and as an elected official is to do exactly what he did for his own children. So thank you to Congressman Frank Pallone, and of course to our great governor, who recognizes that inching away New Jersey is setting the platform and the standard nationally. I know this concept of children not eating oh too well. I taught in a preschool classroom. When you have 4-year-olds coming in and eating 4 breakfasts in the morning, and it took me a little bit, right? Because you take things for granted, even though this is your own families. I was very young, out of college, and there was one student who came in every day and would eat 4 breakfasts, and after the 3rd day, it dawned on me what was happening. So then we would pack the bag home with whatever was left over. Anyone who works in a school district recognizes that the volume of food that we get rid of during the course of the day is significant enough to cover every single child who attends our public school system to get free breakfast and free lunch. That New Jersey, before the pandemic, recognized how critically important this was when the Speaker and I introduced a bill to eliminate the reduced category, so we included a whole group of families into that field, and that today we inch towards that yet again, sending a signal to the federal government that universal lunch programs are critical. We pretend to be a first power globally, and we hail all of the things that we have, and we come from a democracy that's strong and it's critical. But when you're in such a thriving state and we're having the discussion about food insecurity, we are missing the bar by waves and bounds, like in an extraordinary and profound way, in a painful way. Everyone saw that when our schools were closed and our backyards turned into food distribution centers, you realized how profound this impacts every other house in our neighborhoods and our blocks. And so just doing these kinds of policy that not solely take care of an immediate impact, but understands the fundamental issue that it is not one thing that is going to make a New Jersey student a well-rounded taxpayer. It is going to be several measures of policy and a wraparound service that is going to lift that individual up to reach their God-given potential. And so I am just fortunate to be part of a leadership team and caucuses that are really focused on making New Jersey stronger and fairer. I'm proud and honored to sit alongside women like Yvonne Lopez, who we use our own respective lenses to create policy, recognizing that not everyone has an advocate in the House, and it's not because of lack of will or want. But when you're debating whether you're going to pay rent, your PSE&G bill, or buy food for work, that the last thing on your mind is making sure that you're getting the equity that you deserve as a human being. And lastly, the mayor said this best: a child who comes into any classroom and is not well fed, the impact is profound. Many of us did the SNAP challenge several years ago, and your senator from the district, Vitale, and I, we did it, and they gave us a slated amount of money and limited purchase at the grocery store. After the 3rd day, I didn't want to see peanut butter or Wonder Bread was the only thing I could afford, and lentils. And it was cheaper to buy processed foods from the shelves than it was for me to get produce. And as a vegetarian, that was extraordinarily difficult. And you realize that there are so many avenues that just come together, that if in fact you have individuals as committed who are sitting here in this playground focused on that all the bureaucracy, all the nonsense, all the noise of political party goes away, because you focus on the child, you focus on that human being, and you focus on elevating that family. To Congressman Pallone, New Jersey is setting the standard. The Speaker has said it best. We are laying all the pressure on you. If I can go down there and help you convince individuals, you know, there are extraordinary things. Universal lunch, free lunch should be just the standard in the state. When we are reimbursing reimbursing programs in this country from one state to another, the cost of living matters. You cannot reimburse a state where cost of living is way below where we are here in New Jersey and then unilaterally reimburse the Department of Agriculture at $1.19 per meal. It just doesn't fundamentally make sense. It's set up for failure. And when in fact the speaker goes above and beyond and working with my office to lift the financial ceiling to include more families, that it doesn't matter how much we do in New Jersey, it does. We bring in another fold, we bring in another 10,000, that until the federal government raises the federal poverty level that was set in 1960. Now, I know all of you have been in the supermarket. The gallon in 1960 is extraordinarily at a different price point than it is today. Until we fundamentally tap into those systems that are broken, New Jersey will continue to do what they're doing, but collectively, we can really make a huge impact. I am grateful to all the teachers who are here. I am so thankful that you invited me. Craig kept saying, thank you for coming up, thank you for coming up. When I see school and it's a venue and it's an event, Donna could tell you I'm here early. I use the restroom inside and I peeked into 2 classrooms. It doesn't matter what role you're in, retired, public service, if you're public safety, if you ever need to get reinvigorated, just step inside a classroom and look into those children's eyes and then realize that we all as adults have purpose and responsibility for the next generation. Thank you.
Amen to that, man. That was incredibly impressive. And Donna, to you and all the educators out there, we aren't where we are in the country, top of the heap, without first and foremost the best educators on the planet. Thank you, Senator. Bless you, and thank you for everything you do. He's been referenced already. It feels like there's a lot of pressure on him right now, but he's not only my congressman, but he is one of the most important congressmen, period. He is the dean of the Democratic delegation. He is otherwise known as the chairman, and he's a dear friend. Please help me welcome Congressman Frank Pallone.
Thank you, Governor, and thank you to Craig, our Speaker, and to Senator Ruiz and the others that are here. First of all, it has been hinted at, but I'm going to say it outright. It's rare that I go to any event with the Governor or with Craig where they're not doing so much more than what the federal government does. I mean, they are leaders, and they're always trying to make up for where the federal government is at fault. And Senator Ruiz was actually very kind in only hinting at what the federal government should do. The first thing that she said to me, and that Craig said too when I got here, is, the federal government needs to do this and this, which is true. And there were 3 things. First of all, Craig mentioned the waiver. During the pandemic and after Biden became president, we had a Democratic Congress in both houses, narrowly. We did so many things with the American Rescue Plan and with the annual appropriations bill to try to beef up school nutrition programs and get to universal, free lunch and breakfast and what was discussed. But what happened is the waiver that allowed that expired on, I think, the end of June, Craig. And of course, I'm going to blame the Republicans because it's true. You need 60 votes in the Senate. McConnell publicly said we're not renewing this program and has refused to do it. And so that's the biggest problem, right? But the other things that Teresa mentioned about, changing the poverty formula and also the formula so it's not based that every state gets the same percentage, but it's based on cost of living. Those things need to be done as well. So just rest assured, the governor said here, I'm here for show and tell. I guess I'm here for you to tell me what we should be doing and we're not doing. But in any case, I'm committed to doing that, and we're certainly going to try to make a difference. The only thing I wanted to add is, other than to say how what the governor and Craig and everyone is doing is so special and moving forward, doing a lot more than what we do nationally, is the things that Craig mentioned and Teresa mentioned about how important this is. I do remember when I was in elementary school that, the kids that got the school lunch, I don't even think we had breakfast then, were ostracized, and a lot of kids well, they weren't always ostracized, but there was the element of that. And many of them would just not go up and take lunch and get it free because they didn't want to be seen that they were poor, or whatever the term was. And that's why I think you need to have universal free lunch and breakfast, because first of all, as Teresa mentioned, it doesn't even cost any much because we throw so much away, but also because there's no reason why not everyone shouldn't have adequate nutrition and not have kids, stigmatized or whatever because they're the ones that are getting it. So it's just, this is just a great day, and want to thank you all and appreciate being invited. And it's always good to be in South Amboy, Mayor and Council, Mickey and Anthony and everyone, because you're always doing the best for your children. Thank you.
That was a 2-for-1 sale. Not only did I shake Frank's hand and thank him, but I just killed a lanternfly, which was, hey, come on, man. It's Jersey. So for the things that still need to be done, and Frank, you have, and Teresa have been very clear about the tasks before us. But may I say this? What a summer you guys had. And by the way, I'd roll that back even before then. We still have in New Jersey, and we're working with our legislative leadership on spending wisely some more American Rescue Plan money. We have bipartisan infrastructure money. And by the way, we're the most densely populated state in America. So it means a lot to every state. It means a whole lot to New Jersey. And then more recently, the CHIPS Act is a game changer, particularly in a state with an innovation economy like ours. The Inflation Reduction Act, the so-called IRA, which is a huge deal. And this is the guy on energy in the U.S. Congress. Huge deal for climate change and health care. What you all did for veterans. You're on a big roll, man, so keep it up. Last but not least, we started with Fred, South Amboy. We're going to put a nice bow around this, and our last speaker is also, we're going to take us out, South Amboy. Please help me welcome the superintendent, the outstanding superintendent for the South Amboy Public Schools, Dr. Frederick D. Williams.
Thank you, Governor Murphy. Today's signing of Bills A2368 and A2365 places into motion the ability for schools to nourish the minds and bodies of scholars from middle-income families. South Amboy Public Schools is dedicated to our vision of ensuring that equity exists for all scholars, regardless of any factor that may otherwise deem access to quality education and other daily needs beyond their reach. Providing access to healthy and affordable food enables scholars to be fueled and ready to learn. For the past few months, our Board of Education President, Patrick Walsh, and I have been discussing ways to infuse diversity, equity, and inclusion into the fabric of our district and have referenced his graduate research that in part reveals that social factors such as a student's race and socioeconomic status directly impact student health outcomes. Not only does the bill signed today by Governor Murphy support these discussions, but it puts into action across the state of New Jersey our district's vision and goal of equitably expanding access to all resources for all scholars, inclusive of critical food safety net programs. The work of Speaker Coughlin, Governor Murphy, and other legislators have leveled the playing field for all scholars and have provided schools with the means to nourish the whole child. Thank you so much. God bless.
Dr. Williams, hard-hitting, great points, and given the sun, mercifully brief. So thank you, sir. What a treat. As they say in Hollywood, it's a wrap. I can't tell you how thrilled I am to be here today with, as I mentioned earlier, I won't repeat who they are, a cavalcade of great leaders, educators. I didn't mention the Board of Education. I want to give them a shout out. Let's always have our law enforcement's back. Stay safe, Chief, to you and your colleagues. We are with you and never will waver. To each and every one of you, most importantly, the precious kids over there, we are here for you. Let's get this thing signed.
We learned about the hot pen covered. Do you remember that?
While we do the bill signing so that we can get a nice shot of the bill being signed. Hey, that's cool.
Did you lower that phone? I'm sorry.
Sorry, you just got to clear for the camera.
Thank you.
I'm going to give you the money shot. I can't see a thing, but I'll pretend it's on the side.
Wait, hold on.
Come on, Mr. President.
Right there. I need you to clear the camera.
Move in a little bit.
Sir, sorry, I need you to clear the camera. Watch behind you.
Everybody down. Ready? Good see me, I can see you. Here we go.
Okay. Now.
Sir. Sorry, I can watch the camera.
First up, listed as Assembly Bill A2368, sponsored by the aforementioned Craig Coughlin, Pam Lampett, Mila Jacey, and in the Senate, Majority Leader Teresa Ruiz and Joe Vitale, Middlesex County's own. The synopsis is requires schools to provide free school breakfast and lunches to students from working class, middle income families, designated as working class families, Anti-Hunger Act. That is a great title, right? And a great day. Okay. First pen goes to the guy whose passion brought us here today more than any other. Speaker of the General Assembly, Craig Coughlin. It takes a village. You need two chambers to get a bill to our desk, and the other great leader on the Senate side, Senate Majority Leader Teresa Ruiz.
Thank you.
He's taken the next train down to Washington to follow up on all the imploring that Senator Ruiz has given us.
I'm going to go
Please help
down
me
with
welcome
him.
my Congressman, the great leader, Frank Pallone. He's what?
He's the Congressman of South End.
I love that.
We do too.
And certainly last but not least on this bill is our host today, an outstanding leader, Mayor Fred Henry. Fred? Okay. That one's good. Next up, and we mentioned, I think several of us mentioned, this is basically it's Craig, fair to say this is the get the word out bill, right? So this, right? So this is Assembly Bill 2365, sponsored by, and I mentioned some of their names earlier in the Assembly: Joe Danielson, Tom Giblin, Sadef Jaffer, and in the Senate, Vin Gopal, and Majority Leader Teresa Ruiz. And the synopsis is requires school food authorities to engage in public education campaigns and develop promotional materials to educate parents and guardians of students about existing and expanding school meals program options. Rolls off the tongue. Rarely left. Okay. First up to bat, Joe Atchison, Assistant Secretary, New Jersey, Department of Agriculture. Joe? Acting Commissioner of the Department of Education, Dr. Angelica Allen McMillan. He wanted to be here today. I know he couldn't, but I want to give a shout out, and I sent you in particular, bless you, for Assemblyman and great friend and Union Leader Tom Giblin. Last but not least, we heard from him a few minutes ago, an outstanding superintendent, Dr. Frederick D. Williams. So this is the cool part. Bear with me 1 second. I'm going to stand up if that's okay with everybody. Button my coat. Look the part. I am incredibly proud and honored to say on behalf of this august group that these bills are now the law of the land. Don't lose them. Congratulations. Great day. Ronnie, love it. Can I give you a hug for me? Thank you. Mr. President, love it. Right. Charlie, take care.